colleague of mine wanted to ask a few questions on the contributions as well. I'm going to start with SERS. What years did the Commonwealth not make its required payments into SERS?
2001 and 2002, the contribution rates were at 0. Does that answer your question,
Yes.
sir? Oh,
How much money was that?
I don't know the number right now, sir.
Could you provide that to us?
Yes, sir.
And for PSERS, same questions. What year was school districts and the Commonwealth? I guess the Commonwealth was at 0 and school districts were at 0. What years were they?
Yeah, back in the, we weren't paying the, you're asking about the normal, as it compared to the normal cost? Again, in the early 2000s, it was, we were not paying the contribution rates, not even close to the normal cost. It was down near 0.
Do you know what years they were?
I can get them the exact years for you.
And how much total dollars was that?
We can get that.
Okay. Would you ascertain it's in the billions of dollars, both for the school districts and the Commonwealth?
I would believe.
Do you know what happened to that money?
What happened to it is that we would have gotten additional interest charged to it. You mean what happened where it went instead of coming here? Absolutely not, no.
No. The billions of dollars.
No, I don't.
What can you provide the committee also? Now, pensions are predicated on employee compensation multiplied by the structure we set. During that time period, can you give the committee the salary side increases, the employee contribution increases during that time? Do you have that?
The salary side, how much the salaries increase for our active members during that period of time, we would have that information.
Okay. Can SERS also provide that analysis as well? All right, great. Thank you so much. Are you familiar with the governor's pension reform plan for PSERS?
Somewhat, yes.
Somewhat. Was there consultation with PSERS on this?
There was a technical review of the legislation.
Okay.
And we've seen the packets of information that have been released in terms of the different charts and such.
Okay. So this has bonding going out in 2015-16, correct? $3 billion bond
Correct.
heading out. The legislation says the bond payment shall not be made prior to year 2016-17.
Correct.
There's an allocation of $80 million from the Liquor Control Board in 16-17, and that is to make payments on behalf of school districts.
Okay.
And then 17-18 is the first bond payment, $185 million from the Liquor Control Board or the Tax Reform Code if there's not enough money in that fund. Now, has the Commonwealth ever done a bond issuance for pensions before?
I couldn't really speak to that. I don't believe so, but I wouldn't be the best person to answer that question.
Have you reviewed bonding before?
No, and no.
No? All right. I'm just curious as to if we're doing the bond in 15-16, the first year we can make a payment 16-17, but the legislation doesn't make an actual payment until 17-18. I'm just curious if that's a normal process for bonding.
We wouldn't have a comment on that.
Okay. Have you reviewed bonds for pensions in other states and other municipalities?
Not particularly.
Not?
I mean, we've reviewed some publications, but we've not done any study.
Okay. Have you seen any analysis where it's been effective in mitigating the unfunded liability over the long term?
Not really, and a lot of it's how the bond is actually implemented. So there are a lot of technical details, details like is it in place of contributions or on top of contributions? Who does the debt service? The cost of the debt service. So those are details that we really we wouldn't be a part of that. We would be the receivers.
Okay. Do you know if we would put a $3 million bond out there? Do you know how much the interest payment would be on that on 30 years? Have you done any kind of analysis on that?
Well, again, from our perspective, we're receiving the $3 billion, and then we would anticipate over the 24-year period at the 7.5% interest rate that we would earn on it, based on the assumptions, that would be about an $8 billion gain. That is strictly from a systems perspective.
Yeah. Have you reviewed previous budgets the Commonwealth had in restricted funds at all?
I have not.
Have you heard of the government entity pulling money out of a restricted fund to pay for other things?
I'm not familiar with
No.
that.
Have you ever heard of Social Security?
Yes. Yes, and yes, now
Yes.
that you mention it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.